Thank you, Mr. Pierre Lecoq, for the words of introduction and for welcoming me to the podium. Honorable Minister, representing the President of the Republic of Lebanon, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished organizers of this Congress, distinguished guests, fellow speakers, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of Pope Francis, just referred to and cited, it is my honor to greet all of you, and I warmly greet all of you also on behalf of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, and on his behalf, I wish this Congress great success. The Church has a great and a growing interest in the world of business. A proof is the role of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, and in the production of a handbook which you now see in your slide, A Vocation of the Business Leader, for which we gather here in a way also to launch the Arabic edition. When ultimately you have the Arabic edition in your hands, probably you may find the Arabic a little bit, probably because it was done by people not living really in Arabia, Arab-speaking people, but now living outside. So, in fact, there are, as of today, editions of this small booklet in French, in English, in German, in Italian, in Polish, and now Arabic. The Chinese, the Portuguese, Spanish, and Ukrainian versions of this are now under translation. The work was begun by an international group of business people, managers and researchers, and educators. The coordinator here in our midst, Professor Norton, and the working group included the president of UNIAPAC, Mr. Pierre Lecoq, and Professor André Habish, all of whom are here present with us this morning. I wish to thank all of them heartily and many other individuals who have worked on the document and its different language versions. The Church wishes to help business leaders understand and act upon the social implications of faith within business. We want to encourage and to help the world of business in these difficult and challenging times to meet its great responsibilities in society in a just and a fitting manner. I shall now proceed to explain the foundational ideas concerning values for business in the light of Christian faith, the Church's social teaching, and especially the teaching about gifts of God in our lives in the encyclical of Pope Benedict XVI called Caritas in Veritate. Then I shall outline the main points of our booklet, which are grouped according to the movements from seeing, judging, and acting. And in conclusion, I shall make a plea for dedicated faithfulness to the best that business has to offer the world, and for a dialogue of life and action among all people of goodwill. So let's begin. We call this document a vocation because a vocation means a calling which comes from God, our Creator. Creation and everything created is purposely willed by God. Therefore, the meaning of everything that exists and the value of all human activities are determined with reference to God. All that we do as humans and all that affects man, his existence, and the world must be related to God to be seen as a contribution to and a continuation of God's work of creation by man, who is created in the image and likeness of God. Business belongs to such human activity And business people and entrepreneurs should see themselves as called by God to exercise their necessary and important skills and activities to continue God's work of creation. So, properly understood, business leadership is indeed a calling, a vocation, and a very noble one. The church takes great joy in supporting and helping entrepreneurs and business people to respond appropriately to their vocation, to find their place, their activities in God's design for man and for his world. We know that entrepreneurs are faced with immense competition and increasing pressure to be efficient and to be profitable on a daily basis. Without these qualities, business will not survive. But we also know that competition, efficiency, and profitability and the logic of market are not enough to foster the development of people in the world of work. What is needed is the logic of gift that can order the logic of the market towards the good of all. This logic of gift arises in the social encyclical Caritas in Veritate of Pope Benedict XVI, which observed that every Christian is called to practice charity in truth in a manner corresponding to his vocation and according to the degree of the influence that he wields in the public sphere, and that the principle of gratuitousness and the logic of gift must find their place within normal economic activity and commercial relationships. This led our council, the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, to organize two very interesting workshops to try to apply this thinking to the realm of business. The outcome was a decision to write a handbook or a vade-mecum for businessmen and women, and based on specific principles of Catholic social teaching, such as the common good, it provides practical ethical guidelines for business decisions. It serves not only those in business now, but also educators and students in business schools and in colleges. The ethical foundation of future business leaders is of great and major concern to us. And so, for example, there are over 1,500 institutions of Catholic business schools and higher education, many of which have business schools. So, like here in Beirut, St. Joseph University, with a faculty and institute of business administration and management. This document can inspire faculty and administrators on the content of their curriculum and the areas of their research. Too often, we take our gifts as our own private possessions. Rather, our gifts should pass through us to serve other people. And it is this law of gift that humanizes and civilizes business, where business people see themselves as stewards rather than owners, see their wealth as common rather than just private goods, and see their employees as persons rather than only as instruments of production. The absence of such an outlook in the business sphere does great damage to the larger society. An important insight of the vocation document is the conviction that the business person is called not just to do business, but to be a particular kind of business leader. Our actions at work, as well as in life, shape our destiny, and they move us to place with eternal to a place with eternal implications. Possessing significant means, business leaders have corresponding responsibility. The vocation text sees business not in terms of legal minimalism of do not cheat, do not lie, or do not deceive, but rather as a vocation that makes an irreplaceable contribution to the material and even the spiritual well-being of humankind. If open to God's will in their day-to-day decisions and not simply their own will, business people have capacity to share goods in common and to build a community. Some of the foundation principles then. This vision of business is grounded in the social doctrine of the church. At its center is the fundamental dignity of all human beings, because we are made in the image and the likeness of God. This expresses God's infinite love for us. Based on divine love and human dignity, our faith compels us to embrace four fundamental values: truth, freedom, justice, and peace. These are common to all three great monotheistic faiths and other religions too. Believing them to be grounded in our divine and lovingly created human nature, as taught by Catholic social doctrine, gives us an absolutely firm response when such values are challenged or denied. Catholic social teaching enunciates many other principles, some of which are especially pertinent to the world of business. Service to common good comes before serving narrower interests. The good or resources of the world have a universal destiny. Creation was not a gift just to a part of humanity. We are called to act in solidarity with those who lack access to these goods, with a larger portion of humanity who suffer in the midst of plenty. Subsidiarity accords the maximum of authority and support to people according to their station and competence, and this grants them their full human dignity. The world's challenges demand more just and humane structures, regulations, policies, and practices, and they demand virtues from business leaders, those habits that make business people and the world better. One of the most important virtues in business is wisdom in public and practical affairs. Our handbook is practical. It shows how a prudent leader can encounter the world of business by seeing the situation clearly, by judging with principles that foster the integral development of people, and by acting in a way which implements these principles in light of one's unique circumstances. I will explain these three stages one by one, but in practice, they are basically and intricately interconnected. Seeing. The challenge and opportunities in the world of business are complicated by a lot of factors, both good and bad. Four factors are especially significant today. Globalization has brought efficiency, mobility, and extraordinary new opportunities to business, but the drawbacks include greater inequality, economic dislocation, cultural steamrolling, and inability of governments to properly regulate capital flow. Then there is communication technology, which has enabled connectivity and brought new solutions and products and lower cost. But its amazing velocity also brings information overload and rushed decision making. And this is crucial for business. Rushed decision making is fatal. The rise of the financial sector has created ways to make capital more productive, yet it has also intensified tendencies to reduce all business relationships to one value, namely price. Whether that is the value of the firm, the price of profit product, or the cost of labor. Wealth maximization and short-term gains become more important sometimes than working for the common good. Then, cultural changes. This in our era have led to increased individualism, more family breakdowns, and preoccupation with the self and what is good for me as an individual. As a result, we might have more private goods, but are lacking significantly in common goods. Business leaders then increasingly focus on maximizing wealth. Employees develop attitudes of entitlement, and consumers demand instant gratification at the lowest possible prices. And so, as values have become relative and as rights have become more important than duties, the goal of serving the common good is also diminishing. So from seeing, we go to judge. Judging entails the principles of respect for human dignity and pursuit of the common good, and these are the foundations of the church's social teaching. With regard to the economy, they can be rephrased into three interconnected groups of objectives and characteristics that define the good of business. The first objective is to produce good goods. Business attend to the needs of the world by producing goods that are truly good and services that are truly serving. They also foster solidarity with the poor by being alert for opportunities to serve people in significant areas. Second, business should provide good work. And by organizing good and productive work, business makes a contribution to the community by fostering the special dignity of human work. The third objective is good wealth. By being good stewards of the resources assigned to them, business creates sustainable wealth through efficient and productive processes that result in healthy profits. Then they ensure a just distribution of wealth to all stakeholders who have made it possible, namely employees, customers, investors, suppliers, and the larger community. The third of the movement is acting. After seeing and after judging, there is acting. Business leaders who follow their vocation will be motivated by much more than financial success and the logic of market. Their faith and values will guide how they receive and accept what God has done for them and how they give and enter into communion with others in business. So this vision of business is not easy to execute in our world today. There are many external obstacles such as corruption, tendencies towards greed, poor stewardship of resources, and insufficient rule of law or regulations. In addition, a major internal obstacle is a divided life, and that for us is very crucial. One of the more serious errors of our age is divided life. The split between religious faith and day-to-day business practices can lead to imbalances and misplaced devotion to economic success. And so to overcome this divided life, business people should integrate prayer, respect for the day of the Lord, scriptures, the gift of the spiritual life, virtues, and even ethical social principles into their life and into their work. And the life of faith can strengthen and embolden business leaders to respond to the world's challenges, not with fear or not with cynicism, but with the virtues of faith, virtues of hope, and virtues of love. So finally then, this handbook aims to encourage and inspire business leaders and all stakeholders in business to see the challenges and opportunities in their work, to judge them according to the ethical social principles illumined by a religious vision of the world and man, and then to act as leaders who serve God. In conclusion then, my brothers and my sisters, I have introduced the main elements of the vocation of the business leader. I have touched on the main principles of Kali social doctrine and the beautiful logic of gift that applies to the calling of business leaders as co-creators with God. When they provide good goods and good work and act as stewards of good wealth. I hope these introductory words have made you curious and now will motivate you highly to read this handbook, to incorporate it into the seeing, judging, and acting of your business lives, and to introduce it to other business people. At the same time, I hope that this handbook will give rise to new opportunities for dialogue among all Christians, Muslims, and Jews in the manner encouraged by the Second Vatican Council, which says, the dialogue of life, where people strive to live in an open and neighborly spirit, sharing their joys and sorrows, their human problems and preoccupations. And again, where the Second Vatican Council invites us to dialogue of action, in which Christians and others collaborate for the integral development and liberation of people. So we wish then, at the end of all of this, to continue and to deepen the dialogue with business people. We want to foster the incorporation of Kali social teaching into business education for future entrepreneurs and the ongoing formation of those already active. Christian business associations like UNIAPAC and LAMAM appear to me to be excellent partners for this purpose. I sincerely ask business leaders to be witnesses of God's love in your daily lives and in your daily affairs, and show by your own action that faith and business can work together, and that profit can be compatible with common good. We need to increase the effort to create international alliances for our common concerns. Please then also focus on the dialogue with the international business administration sector. And in all of this, I believe that there is much that people of different faiths, traditions hold in common, far more than what divides us and makes us different. So in conclusion, let me state what this handbook also states in conclusion. Business and workers are not commodities. Good business is good for common good. And so may God, the Almighty and All-Merciful, who inspires in our daily business lives and gives these generous desires to serve the common good, help all of us gathered here for this Congress, and may God help us all and bring this Congress to a fruitful, successful fulfillment and end. Thank you. Shukran al-Jazila.